And good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, or whatever time it may be. Welcome. Thanks for stopping by. And we are here to talk about another episode of Talking About Congo. And today's subject is vaccines and low-income countries. As you may know, most of the low-income countries lie below the equator in sub-Saharan Africa and also in uh, South America. So when you look at the vaccines that were produced, the high income countries like the United States, Europe, UK, those places, they have bought massive amount of vaccines and they are also distributing them and to their people. For the low income countries, the WHO and their consortium with Gavi and some other agencies, they purchase a moderate amount of vaccines for the poor countries, the low income countries. Uh, and what we have found, or what they have found, what I read about, is that some of the low income countries are not distributing the vaccines that they have received. And this article, they talked about three countries in particular. Each one is unique. There was South Sudan. There was also the DRC, and there was Malawi. But we'll be concerned with Congo. Congo received 1.7 million doses, and then they did not distribute any of those doses until the final weeks, and they were pressured into getting started. And also, uh, some of the other countries did the same. However, that is not across the board for all low income countries. Countries like Ghana and Rwanda, they distributed their vaccines immediately. So it is a kind of anomaly is what is going on with the low income countries that have bought that the COVAX consortium has bought for them and they're not using them. It's just and so they are redistributing them to the countries that are using them now and taking them from the countries that are not distributing them, where Congo had 1.3 million or 75% of their uh, initial allotment was they had to return. So one of these studies that have come about, and when I read it, I thought, I never thought about that. But what they're saying is the logistics costs of establishing a campaign, not only in sensitizing the country, letting people know when it was available and how it was going to be distributed, and also getting the vaccine distributed, even though it did not have to be kept under really cold chain, a super cold chain, but regular refrigeration. Uh, what they're finding out is that countries like the Congo do not have the logistic capability to do it, or in a sense, they don't have the money to do it, and so that they're waiting or was hoping that money would come with the vaccines in order to do it. But they received only the vaccines, and this COVID uh, consortium relied on each country to do their own to get to distribute it. And it made me think that of all the things that I've seen happening in some of these low income countries, the organizations and other countries have brought in both the products, in this case, vaccines, and they help fund the distribution of it. So I think they have followed that model in other things, but they did not follow it during the uh, COVID vaccine distribution. So therefore, uh, I don't know whether countries were waiting on that and hoping that money would come, but it has not come. And the people who in the countries that's really distributing, they have a more robust system, health system that can take care of that. In the case of Ghana and Rwanda. So it's a interesting situation where some things were given and some things was not given. And so I think money has something to do with it. However, uh, and someone just commented that the vaccines are not needed. Uh, yes, possibly. That is not proven because in the case of Congo and a lot of the poor countries, they have not tested. People are dying, and so they have not tested the people to find out why they died. It's just that they died, and that's the normal course of life. As you see in these low income countries, the death rate is a lot higher than people die from preventable diseases all the time. Second thing is, Patrick, is that you have situations where a lot of the countries have a high uh, percent of younger people, and as you know, the COVID viruses do not uh, uh, affect younger people as they do with older people. And finally, what they're finding also is in a lot of the countries, you have open houses, you have open windows, and you have a lot more air circulating. And so therefore, people work outside versus work inside at desks. And so if you're outside working, there's less chance of you coming down with it. So there's some environmental factors that why it may not be needed, and that was the case that they found out in places like Haiti, that the majority of the people work outside, and they have not had the cases, and they chose not to vaccinate their people. So there's a lot of that these things are environmentally in some of the countries, but in the case of countries like South Africa, uh, there was probably the most uh, higher income and more like Western Europe, and you see that they have a higher caseload, and some of the countries in Northern Africa have the same situation where they have a lot more. Uh, so it's a lot to do with when you're in these lower income countries don't have uh, the industry type jobs or the office type jobs where people are not in there, uh, that they are not uh, transmitting the disease at such a high rate. And so it's good to see that. Uh, so that the so he's saying that the majority of all positive cases were false positive because the CT rates was too high. Yeah, I don't know who Kerry Mullins is, but I think I have to look that up and see, is he a credible source, or he's somebody that you can count on as providing a truth versus anecdotal evidence. So the real situation is, yeah, the situation with the vaccines, as has been shown with some countries, lower income countries using the vaccines and some countries are not. It is the case of that that the situation is that countries who have the capability to distribute the vaccine is doing it versus the countries that are lower income that don't have the logistic support to do it, they're not doing it. So thank you all for stopping by this evening, and we will talk to you tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'll look up and see who this Kerry Mullins is and see what he has to say about all this. But you can look at it from, if you look at it from your standpoint, each country has a different uh, profile, and what I was really been surprised about is the profile of some of the poor countries in Africa, which I thought uh, that that would be suffering from. Uh, it would be uh, in a lot worse shape, but however, the environmental factors have really saved a lot of people's lives because they are not uh, the same profile as the industrialized high income countries. So thank you again, and we will talk to you tomorrow with another episode of Talking About the Congo. Thank you for commenting, and we will talk to you tomorrow.